Hey guys, so I had a question this morning and I'm going to attempt to answer it. Hang with me. I'm not a chemistry major by any means, but when I was studying for captain, I had to study a lot about polycarbons, hydrocarbons, all the bad stuff that's in the finishings that are in everything today. Literally all the plastics, all the coatings, everything is all made out of petroleum based. All of our plastics, bottles and stuff like that, a lot of your furnishings, everything. It's not everything, but dang near everything. So the atmospheres have changed for us as firefighters. We don't go into just wood structures anymore and put that out. Now we're dealing with a lot hotter, higher BTU structures that go up a lot faster. They reach a flash point 10 times, 100 times faster than they ever have in the past. So we have to be real careful with that. Well, that's kind of spilled over into my car restoration deal, because learning all the stuff that I did about that and realizing how much plastic is everywhere, how much rubber is everywhere, how much we use that stuff. When I bought my epoxy, I thought, I wonder what makes this seal your metal or make it waterproof or whatever, because most primers are porous and they're like a sponge. So if you put water on them, they're going to, like if you just put primer right over bare metal, just regular high build primer, it's going to sink right to the bare metal and it's going to rust underneath. So what's the difference between a regular epoxy, or between epoxy and a regular primer? Well, here's the difference, and I'm going to, hopefully I don't get too over the top with this, but so I'm going to use this for an example. And if you see here, and hopefully that'll show, that is PPG's DP50LV. That's epoxy primer gray. All right, so this is the MSDS sheet. So if anybody wants to know how you can figure out what's doing what, you just go to the material safety data sheet and it'll tell you a lot of the ingredients. May not tell you all of them, but it'll tell you a lot of them. So if you come down through here, you find epoxy resin, MW700. So then if you go to look up epoxy resin, you can just Google epoxy resin MW700, and you're going to end up getting, let's see here, same. Oh. If you look up the epoxy resin, the basis for that is this bisphenol A. Now I'm saying that right. I'm going to call it BPA from here on out. It's an organic synthetic compound with the chemical formula of blah blah blah. It's colorless solid that is soluble in organic solvents but poorly soluble in water. Well, you know what that means. It doesn't like water. Water resists it. It resists water. So you come on down. Let's say, okay, well, what is it used for? BPA is employed to make certain plastics and epoxy resins. BPA-based plastics is clear and tough and is made into a variety of common consumer goods, such as water bottles, sports equipment, CDs, DVDs. Epoxy resins containing BPA are used to line water pipes, as coatings on the inside of many food beverage cans, and the making of thermal paper, such as in sales receipts. It's basically a polycarbonate plastic. Okay, that's pretty much what this is. So this is what we hold our water in. So to say, is it waterproof? Yes. This is my SPI epoxy. Okay, it's rubbery. It's waterproof. It's basically the same, whatever that BPA is made out of this, that's made into this. Now, if anybody else has any, if you're a chemist or whatever, and you want to tell me I'm wrong, then by all means, please get on here and tell me, give me the what for. But at this point, this is what the difference is between the plastics, the epoxy. This here, that's a rubber coating or a plastic coating. Now it's still rubbery, but as it closes, and here's another thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the way I understand this, if you use at least SPI's epoxy, it gives you 7-day window. Well, what's that mean? Well, within 7 days, I can top coat that, I can put filler on it, I can do any of those things and not have to tooth it, not have to use 180 or whatever. After that, you have to. Now, why is that? Well, because in my understanding, and I've said this before, correct, somebody jump out there and kick me in the balls if you want to. Well, let's just say right now this is porous, okay? It's got these, we're just going to exaggerate and say it's like a bowl. Okay, as this shrinks, so you top coat this with something, that top coat drops into this bowl. And as that shrinks, it grabs a hold of that, okay? And it shrinks down, and like I showed you before, stuff shrinks a lot. Well, you want it to. That's what's actually grabbing a hold of your paint, your fillers. Your fillers are also porous, so it actually grabs into the pores of that when you press it in there, in my understanding, okay? So I just have to preface that because I said there's maybe some chemical scientist dude get on here and go, you know what the hell you're talking about. Well, okay, tell me why I'm wrong. I'm open, I'm easy. So anyway, that is a basic explanation of your epoxy versus your high build primers, which have talc in them, I believe, which is like, it's just not water salt. It's not resistant to water. So what you want to do, coat your metal with rubber or plastic, however you want to look at it, while it's still open. And if it's not, then you 180 grit it or whatever grit you're going to use on it to tooth it, because now that your top coat has to grab. As your stuff is shrinking, it shrinks together and grabs a hold of each other. And then from there you go on with your other stuff. Then they call it sealer. This epoxy, from my understanding, if you reduce it, it's basically the same, it's just reduced, so it sprays out more like paint. So you top coat, you sandwich. Now you've got your fillers and primers and polyester primer, whatever you got in there, you got it sanded down to 500-600 grit, 400 grit, whatever you do. And then you spray a seal coat. Well, that seal coat is this. It's a rubber coating that goes over the whole, makes a sandwich out of it basically. So now you're good. You've got everything sandwiched. Water's not penetrating through that. If it does penetrate through that for a scratch or rock chip or whatever, it comes down, it's going to stop here. If it penetrates all the way through to the metal, you're going to get a rusty spot in that area. That's why you need to touch that up, recoat it or whatever. So that's my understanding of how this works. If anybody's got better information, please feel free to let me know. All right, guys. shit off. All this is doing is making me breathe a bunch of nasty shit. That was a mistake. Bigger mistake than I thought. Take a break. I've got it pretty heated. You can see what I'm doing. I'm moving around just like we do on sheet metal to keep it from getting too hot in one area to start the twisting warping process. And I'm trying to get good penetration, so I'm going a little farther. This is different, talking to Kevin, because I'm not a big 1/8 inch thick welding person, so just know that. I'm used to doing sheet metal where you just do little dots. Well, you can't do that here because it just doesn't give you good penetration. So you actually have to go a little more than, well, a lot more. You actually have to keep it on there and go about, I've got probably 1.5 inches-ish, probably, something like that, piece. Yeah, 1.5 inches, almost exactly. And that one's still just a little proud. I probably could have got that a little, I may need to slow down my speed a little bit and let it just dig in a little bit more. Some of these look great. Some of them are a little proud, but there's no doubt it's going to hold, going to stick. It's just I got to work this until I find my sweet spot and my travel speed. So, and again, man, all I've ever really welded is, I started out on sheet metal because I was going to do auto body. So the first thing I built that was not sheet metal was this jig. And so yeah, I'm still kind of tweaking and doing that type of thing. But yeah, I got to let it warm up or cool down. Don't get too much heat. And again, just move in different places. This is what Kevin does. This is his specialty. This is what he's done for 40 years. He's my fabricating mentor, if you will. And he's taught me a lot. And so thanks, Kevin. You know how I feel about you. You rock. So yeah, we planned all this out. He's told me how to do this, how to go about it, what to look for, how to try to lay it down. He said to pull the weld instead of pushing it. I like pushing it better because I can lean over and see where I'm going. When I'm pulling it, all my nozzle and everything else is in the way. So I'm kind of having to practice at the pull thing. Does it make a huge difference? I don't know. Kevin, you tell me. I know guys go back and forth. I've seen on Weld, what is it, weld.com or whatever. They're like, some guys swear by pushing, some guys swear by pulling. But Kevin said it's better. He didn't say it's better. He said it lays out flat if you pull it. So don't let me misquote you. Still a little warm. My thoughts were I was going to go ahead and just jump back and forth across both sides. That way I could get both of them done and not just have to sit here and waste time. But I'm not going to get in a hurry. I'm just not. I want to get this right. I think I'm going to learn a lot right here. This is going to be one of those deals I'll look back on someday and go, yeah, I remember when I first did this. And I learned this, and this, you know. So it's always a learning thing, man. It's a good day if you, like Kevin says, there's not what his goal in life is to learn something every single day. I think that's a great goal. Yeah, I mean, if you can do that, man, you just keep stepping forward. So I'm liking the way they look. Being a MIG and all that, I think they look fine. I think they look real good. That was the thing Kevin told me. He said, don't worry about how they look. He said, you got to get good penetration. So a lot of people get caught up on how does the weld look. And I'm still caught up on that, I guess, too. I like them to be pretty, but they got to be good before they're pretty. So otherwise, you've got nothing but pretty that's going to break, snap off on you. At least in my thoughts. Alright guys, I'm going to cut the video here because I've uploaded a bunch of other stuff earlier, and so I'm going to have to edit a bunch of crap either out or something. I know you guys are getting anxious to get this done. I get it. We're on our way. Maybe tomorrow I'll get this finished up and we'll get to moving forward. But yeah, hang with me. I'm learning as you guys are, and some of you guys are pros at this. So you know a lot more about it than I do. Let me give you a quick close-up of what we got going on. This one here, I got to here and figured out I didn't go as far, and I started back up on it again. But they're pretty flat. I mean, I don't know how I can show you that, but this one's a little proud. It probably should have been a little hotter. I should have dwelled a little longer. But these all laid down pretty flat. So yeah, not too bad. That one looks like shit, but you can't win them all, right? So there you go. I'm just going to keep moving along. See ya.